Hola, me llamo Dewi y bienvenidos a The Day We Cook. That pun doesn't quite translate in Spanish, but anyhow, bienvenidos y hoy viajamos el sur de Perú a la ciudad se llama Arequipa. Hey guys, welcome back to The Day We Cook. It's Dewi here, and today we will be traveling to southern Peru to a city called Arequipa. It is located 300 miles west of La Paz, Bolivia, and situated at an altitude of 7,600 feet above sea level, just at the base of Misty Volcano, one of the tallest volcanoes in Peru at well over 19,000 feet. Arequipa is Peru's second most populous city and second most industrialized city behind Lima, la capital, and Lima considers Arequipa its rival city. People have never even heard of Arequipa, but interestingly, it is the third most visited city in Peru after Lima, la capital, y Cusco, which is the gateway to Machu Picchu, as everyone knows, is home to the ancient Incan ruins. Arequipa is nicknamed La Ciudad Blanca, which means the White City, and it's named that for a significant number of historical buildings that have been constructed with a volcanic rock known as sillar, which creates this white to a lot of the buildings in town. So hence the name La Ciudad Blanca. Another interesting fact about Arequipa is that the city gets 300 days of sunshine every year. So the weather hardly gets hotter than 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and it rarely gets below 41 degrees Fahrenheit. So lots of warm, dry days and cool, crisp nights. That sounds like an all-year-round destination to me. I was actually supposed to be in Arequipa last fall with Noah Lani. We had plans on traveling to Lima and then doing the Inca Trail over to Machu Picchu, and then we were going to head south to Arequipa before flying home from Bolivia. But obviously with COVID still happening, that had to be canceled. So hopefully sometime this year or next year we'll make our way over there. But I am so excited to be talking about Arequipa and its traditional dish that we'll be making today. We'll be preparing a dish that you'd be able to find all over Peru, but it was actually born in the city of Arequipa, and it's known as Rocoto Relleno, which in English means rocoto filling. So think the chili relleno, but instead of using the poblano peppers as the Mexicans do, the Peruvians use the rocoto pepper, which is a chili pepper that is native to South America and grows up in the Andes Mountains. So the rocoto pepper is filled with ground beef, black olives, raisins, hard-boiled eggs, garlic and onions, spices, and cheese. I know, it's a very strange combination of ingredients, but I promise you, as weird as it may sound, the juxtaposition of the sweetness and the spiciness and a little bit of saltiness from the cheese actually blend together so well, it is actually quite delicious. Okay, so you're probably wondering, what exactly does a rocoto pepper look like? What does it taste like? All right, well, for the people who have had it, the people who know about it, right, a lot of them often joke that it's not called rocoto, it's called the locoto pepper. Loco means crazy in Spanish. And they say that because even though the rocoto pepper almost resembles a red bell pepper in shape, size, and color, its interior is as meaty and juicy as a tomato. Its flavor is intensely hot. Like, its spice level is on par with habaneros and Scotch bonnets. It is 10 times hotter than a jalapeno. That's why people say it's the locoto pepper. Sounds like a really scary pepper, right? And people often mistake it for a regular red bell pepper until, of course, you slice it open and you'll find inside of a rocoto there is usually a black or a brown seed, and that is very typical of chili peppers that belong in the capsicum pubescens species. Yeah, black brown seeds and super hot chili peppers. So in order to remove the spice, like the natural spice of the peppers, a lot of times people would remove the veins and the seeds, and they would cleanse the peppers in hot boiling water and drain it 3 times in order to tone down the spice. Not a bad idea. Good news is that you are most likely not going to make the mistake of picking up a rocoto pepper here in the United States, because the rocoto peppers are very difficult to find anywhere outside South America and Mexico. I, even right here in Los Angeles, could not find the rocoto peppers at my local Latin market. So with that said, we're still gonna make the dish, but as opposed to using the rocoto peppers, we're gonna substitute that by using a regular red bell pepper, green bell peppers, and whatever colored bell peppers of your preference. So without further ado, let's get cooking. I don't know about you guys, but usually when I cook, I like to make sure that I have all of my ingredients that's involved in the dish all laid out, it's all measured. I have it in individual little containers, obviously for the purpose of this video, so it's easier to show you guys what's in what. So with that said, we'll go ahead and get started with what is in what container. This is a very simple dish. I mean, it may seem like a lot of ingredients, but once you have them all gathered, it's just a matter of dumping all of the ingredients into one pot along with the ground beef, stirring it all up, adding the toppings, and then once it's all cooked through, we will fill the ground beef mixture into our red bell peppers, green bell peppers, or whatever colored bell peppers that you prefer, and we'll top it with some cheese, pop it in the oven, and let the oven do its thing. First things first, what we'll do is we will add to the pot our garlic, some onions. The recipe calls for onions. I personally prefer shallots to onions. I mean, it's part of the same family, except that shallots tend to be a little sweeter than a regular white onion. I choose the shallots because I think it'll offset some of the spice of the Rocoto Relleno dish. So shallots it is for me, but you can go ahead and use a regular white onion. Then of course I have some jalapeno peppers all chopped up. And then here for my dry spices, I have a little colorful dish of bouillon because I prefer that as opposed to salt. Then there's your black pepper, and then of course this red stuff here. The recipe calls for paprika. I don't have paprika, so as a substitute I'm using cayenne pepper, which is a little bit spicier than paprika. And then this brown spice right next to that is cumin. And we talked about cumin in my last video with beef satay. It's part of the parsley family, and it's very earthy and aromatic. In addition to the dry spices, what we have beside that is this little dish of 2 chili pastes. The one right here, that's the lighter red, is this jar, the rocoto pepper. So this is that spicy chili pepper. It's all been mashed up. This is what a lot of the Peruvians use in soups and stews and sauces and salsa. So this, if you were to eat it by itself, you will feel that kick on your tongue and it'll go all the way down your throat. So use sparingly. Right beside this one is the ají panca. Ají panca is a Peruvian red chili pepper that grows along the coast of Peru, and despite the fact that it is a chili pepper, it is not spicy. It has more of a chipotle, kind of a smoky feel to it. And if you don't have either of these pastes, you can use ancho chili paste as opposed to these. And ancho is actually a type of dried poblano pepper in the Mexican cuisine, and ancho means wide in Spanish, and it is not spicy. It has a very mild heat, but it still brings a little bit of flavor to the dish. Right here next to the paste is my queso fresco, which means fresh cheese in Spanish, but it's really a type of queso blanco or a type of white cheese. And really what that is it's cheese from cow's milk that has been acidified with lemon juice and vinegar. Queso blanco or queso fresco has kind of a tangy, bold, slightly salty flavor. In the cheese, it's very, very popular in Mexican dishes as far as tacos and what they use to top your beans. But if you don't have access to queso blanco, queso fresco, you can totally use a feta cheese or a ricotta salata. Ricotta means recooked and salata means salted. It's an Italian cheese made from sheep's milk. But if you don't have those cheeses, you're totally fine with using something like mozzarella or Monterey Jack or a combination of cheeses, anything of your preference that'll be nice and melty once it's topped the bell peppers. Over here, this is where the odd ingredients come to play. We have a hard-boiled egg, so you want to do this ahead of time, just coarsely chop it all up. Then we have some black olives that have been cut in half, and then we have some raisins. Just make sure that these black raisins, before you add them to the mixture, you have this sitting in hot water for about 8 to 10 minutes just to get the raisins nice and plump. And then over here we have our beef broth that we will pour into the mixture before getting all of these things into our peppers, and then we'll have the peppers in the oven baking at 350 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. Set my oven to 350 degrees. Make sure it's about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to put in 15 minutes here. All right, so I am going to go ahead and get this heated. Pour some of my olive oil. You can use whatever choice of cooking oil you prefer. I just so happen to almost always have olive oil on hand. So that is what I am working with. I'm going to get this all nice and hot. Go ahead and pour in, ooh, a little splashy there, the jalapenos, the onions, and the garlic. Put that all in the pot. I'm going to give this a nice little stir. It smells good already. So I'm going to give this nice little mix, get all of these ingredients softened and caramelized before we pour in the ground beef. It smells so good. I love garlic, love onions. Can't cook without them. I don't understand people who don't like either of those things. I don't know. I need to have it in all of my dishes. I'm gonna go ahead and pour in the ground beef. What that looks like right now. We're gonna put all of these spices in here. And the paste in there as well. Rocoto and the ají panca. Remember, if you don't have these Peruvian pastes, you're more than welcome to add ancho chili paste or ancho chili powder. But if you can go to a Latin market and find it in the section where they sell, pastes and chili, it would serve you well to go get the ají panca or the rocoto paste, because not only can you use it for this dish, you can use it for soups and salsas and stews. It just adds a really nice, intense flavor and a little bit of heat as well. And I mean, obviously, if you don't like spicy, then you can just forget the ají and forget the rocoto, but it is so good. Pour in some beef broth. Simmer for a few more minutes. Let the juices all absorb. I'm gonna go ahead and pour in the raisins right now. Get that all mixed in there. Raisins are kind of a strange combo. I've never really thought to add raisins too much of any of my dishes. I think raisins, oatmeal, or eat it with granola or something like that. But raisins in a savory dish, kind of odd, but it really does bring in the sweetness that offsets the spiciness of the dish. I'm gonna go ahead and add in the black olives and the hard-boiled eggs. We're just gonna give that a nice little mix once more. And then we're gonna remove this from the heat, add the queso fresco, and then we're gonna start stuffing this mixture into our peppers. Forgot to mention, you wanna make sure that you boil the bell peppers in hot water for about 8 to 10 minutes just to get these all nice and tender, because otherwise if you don't do that, it's just much too sturdy, too hard, that it doesn't quite have that nice moist texture, you know? It's like you want it to be hearty but not too hard that it remains too sturdy, too chewy. So here, there's one pepper. And another thing that you want to make sure when you're shopping for red bell peppers is making sure that the bottom is able to stand on its own. This one won't be able to stand on its own until I filled up this one, so we'll just temporarily have that stand right there. It looks beautiful already. I'm gonna top it with some cheese and then we're gonna pop it in the oven. You're gonna top the peppers with a little bit more queso fresco. Just, you know, lay it all in there. Or again, if you don't have the queso fresco, you can add ricotta or feta cheese or mozzarella, any kind of cheese of your preference. We'll take the tops of the peppers and you just kind of lay them right next to their counterparts. So here we are. I'm gonna pop this in the oven. I'm gonna let it cook for about 10 to 15 minutes. And it should come out nice and melty. All right, the peppers are ready. Woohoo! Look at that. This looks fantastic. Smells really good. I'm just going to plate this. This pepper's fallen over because the base is kind of lopsided, but that's all right. It'll still taste just as good. Look at this, the melted cheese. The peppers are just nice and tender, and I just can't wait to dig in. Traditionally in Peru and Arequipa, this is eaten as either an appetizer. You can also have it as an entree. If it's an entree, it's usually served with pastel de papas, which are sliced potatoes. Cut up a little bit of pepper. Get that meat and the cheese and the egg and the olives. So that's what it looks like right here. Gotta be careful because it's hot, and I don't just mean the spice level, but it just came out of the oven, so. Whew. Smells so good. This is a solid one. I mean, the bell peppers are super nice and tender. It's kind of a hearty dish without feeling so guilty. The ground beef is very well seasoned with all of those spices, and the rocoto paste as well as the ají panca. Those two things really bring up the spice level, the heat that this dish calls for. Obviously that's optional, but that's also what makes it Peruvian because we don't have real rocoto chili peppers. But the sweetness from the raisins really balance out the spiciness, and the saltiness from the queso fresco and the black olives just kind of blends everything so well together. It's a beautiful dish. I mean, I can understand how at first glance and just the sound of all of these different ingredients, It's really weird, but in the end, it works out. I highly recommend. Go make it. It looks kind of fancy. It is totally not. And I can guarantee that most of your friends and family members have probably never even heard of Rocoto Relleno, the traditional dish from Arequipa, Peru. So good. Try it today, and I will catch you on the next The Day We Cook. Adios.